Morning. I think we'll get going here. Brian, is John Strand called in?
I don't believe he's going to.
No, okay. I call a meeting to order, roll call.
Gary?
Here.
Grinberg?
Here.
Strand? Pepcorn?
Here.
Mahoney?
Here. Ben, you can start off if you'd like. This is our reconvened City Board of Equalization. We have some individual property value appeal recommendations. Richard Preston is here, so why don't we start with Richard, and then you can do the rest on that list for us and give the value. I want to thank the team for the hard work they've done so far. I saw that back list, and we had a lot of properties looked at, and I hear we've got some that will have to continue to work on them. But appreciate all the work you guys have done in the interim, and go ahead, Ben.
Thank you. In the bound copy I gave you this morning, this one's on page 19. And Mr. Preston is protesting the value of several parcels, one of which does have a building on it, and the other 4 are unimproved lots. In the write-up, we've shown you the values we have on these parcels, and the information that we have, the building does show some deterioration that we feel that we are recognizing. We do have on page 20 a few sales that we had listed, and the mean and median price per square foot of those sales was $70.80 and $66.53. Our total value on this site, which includes quite a bit more land than the sales had, is at $61.92. The price we have on the improvement, the building, is $32.34. So, I'm sorry, $23.79. So we feel we are reflecting the condition of the building on that. And I guess with that, and the land was part of our land reappraisal that we talked about at the last meeting of the parcels north of Main Avenue. So we have right now $2.34 on the land. Mr. Preston did provide us a restricted appraisal report. I believe it was for a business value. He said he would be willing to give us a copy of the full report or try and get a copy of that so we could look through the information. But we feel that the sales that we have and both land and improved property sales support the value that we have, and we are recommending no change on these properties. So with that, I guess we can hear from Mr. Preston.
Richard, if you want to go to the mic, you can address the commission.
Good morning. I met with the assessor's office with Michael, and I'm not 100% opposed to a property value increase. I'm just opposed to the dollar amount they've come up with. I did have a business appraisal done, and I had a land appraisal done by Darrell Matthews Appraisals, and I submitted the summary to the assessor's office, and that appraisal comes up to $1.37 million, and they're appraising the property at roughly $1.6 million, and the current appraisal is 1.1, and I'm disputing the 1.6. I have a call into Darrell to get the full report. In my email that I received back from Michael, they weren't able to do anything because the full report wasn't there to give the basis for my appraisal. And what I'm asking is if we can just delay a motion or delay any action. I have that report coming. I'll meet again with the city assessor's office if that works with them, provide that report and come up with what I
Ben,
feel
would
is
just go to the list at the back, basically, of a disputed claim, but we don't have an answer yet.
That's what I would recommend.
Okay.
And that works with me. Darrell was supposed to send me the report last week. He apparently didn't get the message, got lost. I talked to him yesterday, but he didn't get it emailed to me. As soon as I get it, I'll set up an appointment and
Can I have a
Try to
motion?
come up with a mutual price.
How long do we want to delay for?
It goes to their backlist in which they try to get things
This,
done.
this would go on the list of properties that we'll deal with last, that we have about 90 properties that we haven't been able to get to yet that have appealed since the first board meeting.
I'm going to put them out west.
And we need to certify that to the county.
I so move.
So moved. Commissioner Pipcorn, second. Commissioner Gary. Roll call vote, please.
Pepcorn.
Aye.
Gary.
Yes.
Grinberg.
Aye.
Mahoney.
Aye. Okay, go ahead, Ben.
Okay, so if we can go back to page 3, which is the Terry Schonder property. Mr. Schonder did address you at the initial board meeting. One of his concerns was that we were using south side sales. We kind of looked at this from every angle. And we did put together a list of the most comparable north side sales that we could get. And it still indicates that Mr. Schonder's value is low compared to sales of even north side sales that are as similar as we could find. We're at $157 a square foot on his property. And the mean and median of the sales is $170 and $166. So we feel we've looked at it from every angle, and if we were to actually run a new market appraisal today, we would come up higher than what we're at right now. So we recommend retaining the value of $383,200 for the 2019 assessment.
We have a motion.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Roll call vote, please.
Grinberg.
Aye.
Pepcorn.
Aye.
Gary.
Yes.
Mahoney.
Aye. Next property.
Okay, on page 7 is the West Winds Apartments. This is a property that is in the low-income housing tax credit program. It is in the second 15-year commitment in that program. This property did receive a 15-year pilot starting in 2004. If you recall, a few years back, they came to you and asked to be removed from the pilot because when the pilot was initially granted, the mill levies were considerably lower, and the current pilot, or the mill levies were higher rather, and they've gotten lower, and the pilot ended up being more than what the tax would have been, and you refused them out of that program. Which has nothing to do with the current valuation. Kelly Zander is the agent on the property for the investors that have recently purchased it. They did purchase it for less than what we have. We do not know the terms of that sale. Information that we've provided you contains sales of a number of apartments and a number of properties similar to this project that we've compared to determine our value and where it is in line with sales and how we have other properties built. This one's a little bit unique. It's a 52-unit building with 73,000 square feet of apartment. It also has a 5,500 square foot office building, which I believe Metro Plains, who owned the property previously, had their offices in there. So there is an office building attached with this too, which if you do a unit of comparison on strictly apartments, it is a little bit unique in that regard. On page 8, our grid of properties, you can see that there were 2 sales that we found that one is still in the low-income housing tax credit program on its second 15-year commitment, similar to the subject. The other one is no longer in the program, but was, and was constructed similar to the specs of the subject property. Those sales were at $44.55 per square foot and $50.42, and our total with the office building, which kind of brings the square foot price up, is at $44 a square foot. So indicated by the older sale of the low-income housing tax credit projects, that was back in 15. And the grid below shows the values per square foot of what we feel are similar properties. The ones blue highlighted, that percent efficiency basically accounts for how much is apartment compared to this with the office. Some of those had similar situations. So of the properties with similar efficiency, our value on those properties is $59 and $56 a square foot, and again, we're at $44 on this one. So we feel the value is supported and recommend, well, I take that back. The value we're recommending is lower than what we currently have, and we are recommending to reduce the value to $6,726,000 from the $7,607,800. So that is our recommendation, to reduce the current value to $6,726,000.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call vote.
Gary.
Yes.
Grinberg.
Aye.
Pepcorn.
Aye.
Mahoney.
Aye.
Okay, on page 10 is the shops at Osgood. This is a parcel that contains a retail building and houses a restaurant lounge. In addition, there is the north side of the parcel will be building another building. They had a slab poured for that building as of this 2019 assessment. Mr. Zander also represents this property. His comments to us, he's not provided us any information or any detail, but he said we're higher than what they paid for the property. And that could very well be because when they purchased the property, the retail building that exists was only 25% fit up. It did not have the restaurant in it, it just had a Verizon store. So 75% of the building was vacant. As of the 2019 assessment, that has been completely fit up and is 100% occupied. Also, if you recall back, we had an abatement a few months back on the Osgood Hornbachers, which is kind of part of this whole site. There were 2 transactions in 2017 when these properties changed hands. And those transactions, we don't have the breakdown. We asked Mr. Zander for the allocation, but of those sales, if we look at transaction A, which this parcel is included with, B. Those transfers was in June 2017, and that was for $7,652,900, or $290.06 a square foot. We're at $151.72 on this property. Transaction A was for larger parcels, and those are recapped on page 11 with the blue and orange highlighting. That went for $22,723,370, or $170.65 a square foot. So, and the interesting thing is that our value on those properties when they sold, if we look at just transaction A, we were at just under 70% of what it sold for on our value. If we look at the combined of all the properties of both transactions, our value represented 65% of what the properties sold for. So we don't think there is any indication that we're by any means high on this value. We have a current value of $2,013,000 on this particular parcel, and we went through building permits that were taken out for this parcel from the beginning, and there's over $2.9 million of building permits without the electrical and plumbing permits. So we feel the value is there. We don't think a rational investor would put that much more money into a property than it would be worth. So we are recommending to retain the current value of $2,013,000.
Have a motion?
That's a move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Call vote, please.
Pepcorn.
Aye.
Grinberg.
Aye.
Gary.
Yes.
Mahoney.
Aye.
On page 13 is the Bueller property at 1330 43rd Street North. We received the appeal from an agent with the Altus Group that provided a real abbreviated cost approach on the property with no really supported depreciation estimate. He actually provided some sales to us which actually indicate a higher value than we have on the property. If you look at page 14, our grid, there are 2 buildings on the site. Building number, and we have all of the land attached with building number 1. So the top grid that you see on page 14 is just the improvement value of building number 2. We have sales of properties that indicate a mean and median of $63.48 and just under $61. And if you look down on the very bottom right, we're at $48.18 per square foot on that particular building. Building number 1, the highlighted yellow on the bottom grid, is the total sale price land and building with median and means of about 51 to 54, depending on how we bracket by either year built or sale date. The more recent sales indicate $70 and $68 a square foot, and we are at $52 and $51 a square foot. So we think that our value is supported by sales and how we have similar properties appraised. So we recommend retaining the current value for 2019 of $5,707,000.
Have a motion?
Move for approval.
Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Grinberg,
Aye.
Gary,
Excuse me.
Yes.
Aye.
Pepcorn.
Aye.
Mahoney.
Aye.
And finally, the last individual appeal is on page 16. It's 3826 3rd Avenue and 3801 3rd Avenue. 3826 is improved with a 7,500 square foot pre-engineered metal building. 3801 is a vacant lot. Access to both parcels is a dirt and gravel road with access off of 39th Street. Our total value per square foot of the building is $38.67. This building was constructed in 1995 and does have evidence of deferred maintenance as well. The mean and median per square foot price of sales of similar properties is $67 per square foot of building area or $63 per square foot of just the building. There are some sites that had quite a high land to building ratio. So excluding those, that indicates about $63 a square foot. And again, we're only at $38.67 a square foot. So we feel that we've reflected any possible negative conditions and deterioration of the improvements. Our land is at $2.10 a square foot as how we're valuing it. You can see on the very bottom grid on page 17, we have land sales from $2.23 to $4.03 with mean and median of $2.88 and $2.80, and we're at $2.10. So we feel we're fair on the land value, reflecting the conditions of the access and so forth. And we do recommend retaining the current value of $290,000 on 3814 3rd Avenue and $190,000 on 3901 3rd Avenue.
Ben, when was the last time that property was appraised? Because it looks like on the one property value, it goes up 120%. Does that mean we haven't been in there for a long time? I'm just assuming it's been a few years.
Last time we revalued the land was in 2012, so that's been about 7 years.
Wow, okay. Any questions? Do you have a motion, please?
Move to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Pepcorn?
Aye.
Gehrig?
Yes.
Grinberg?
Aye.
Mahoney?
Aye. Item 2, Assessment Department recommendations on appeals. I was struck by number A is how many of the properties did go down when they came to you and asked for a reassessment. I'm assuming part of that's ability to get into the house as well that has helped that with the public. So public should know is that you can always ask for a reassessment, and oftentimes it would involve us going into the house or going into the property that's there. But I did want to, I have a sheet of paper that I went through, and just for the public to know, we had a lot of reductions. I outlined them in yellow, but we did have a lot of reductions. So the public should know that if you have a concern about what your value is, you can always ask us and we'll look into it. So Ben, go ahead.
Yeah, I would say that would be the major reason for the number of reductions is that we go through reappraisal areas that contain several thousand properties, and we have some refusal of entrance, and they get the new value and they get the increased notice. And when we come out, we'll find that assumptions we made may be incorrect for as far as the amount of basement finish or condition of the property. And some of the other things that, in addition to that, what we find when we come out on these reviews is people, they get an increase and they probably are not so aware of what properties like theirs are selling for because they don't have their property on the market. They're not thinking of selling. And they sometimes are in shock of what properties like they're in their neighborhood are selling for. Virtually everybody on this list, including those that we did not reduce the value on, are in agreement with the value once we talked to them and showed them the information that we're working with. So my recommendation is to approve the new values that we have on this list as the value for the 2019 assessment.
Do you have a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Grinberg?
Aye.
Gehrig? Pepcorn?
Aye.
Mahoney?
Aye. Item 2B.
And the back page is the 91 properties now with Mr. Preston's that we have not been able to get to yet. You can see most of which, if you look at the use code, P is apartment. Most of it is all those apartment properties that were represented by the individuals that were at the first board. And you can see there's some fairly high values on some of those properties, so they could be, they're complex properties. There is a lot of different breakdowns and so forth. What the stage we're at with those right now are we've asked them for information. They're providing us income and expense information, providing us any additional leases or information that can give us at least a place to start. We're not close to the valuation part yet. So what we're recommending with this list of those that we are still working on, because of the timing of having to get our assessment roll certified to the county, because the county board meets the first week in June, and it will probably take us a good share of the month to get to these, that you conditionally approve no change in value at this time with the condition that we will continue working with them and we will forward this list to the county and hopefully have recommendations at the time we get to the county. If there's any still that we aren't able to settle or resolve by the time the county board meets, we would make the same recommendation to the county that they approve on the condition that we continue working with those remaining, and that gives the property owner the opportunity to go to the State Board of Equalization. In order to appear at the State Board of Equalization, you have to have had an appeal before the city board and the county board. And that gives you the right to, for the State Board of Equalization to act on any appeals at that point, so.
So Ben, the commissioners would have this question. We had a lot of apartment owners come in last time. Would there be a sense by your group that if, when they show you there what's going on there, if the income isn't there, the vacancy's there, or something is there, would that influence the value of their property?
Well, it could or it couldn't. I mean, this isn't a unique situation that we get overbuilt and we get high vacancies and they go down. And, I mean, the value of an income-producing property is the present value of anticipated future benefits. Well, what's happening today, how long is that going to last? In fact, the most recent apartment vacancy report that just came out, I think a week ago, showed a drop in vacancies from the last report. So in a couple areas, there is a couple point drop below 9%. So yes, we'll look at everything that they have going right now, but we still have to consider how long is this going to
Overall
last?
value. Okay. So for 2B, do I have a motion, please?
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Any questions, Commission? Roll call vote, please.
Gehrig?
Yes.
Pepcorn?
Aye.
Grinberg?
Aye.
Mahoney?
Aye. Item 3, approval of the 2019 assessment roll evaluations as equalized.
Yeah, we just need a motion to finalize the assessment roll as equalized with the conditions of the lists that we will send to the county.
Is there a motion? So moved. Gary?
Second.
Greenberg? Roll call vote.
Gehrig?
Yes.
Grinberg?
Aye.
Pepcorn?
Aye.
Mahoney?
Aye. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Adjourn. Thank you.
Thank
Good
you.
work by your team. I appreciate it. I know it's kind of hard sometimes, and we appreciate it as commissioners that you guys do this work. We've heard you're one of the finest assessors in the state, finest departments in the state, and we want you to continue that reputation, so thank you.
Thank you very much.